Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hello and good morning to you all out there. It's a lovely sunny morning this morning. I'm all alone in the studio this morning. I feel very lonely. Ethan is missing. We have Ethan Dettenmaier missing this morning. I have no idea where he's actually gone to. I'll have John Beerley up online in a second. But for those of you out there, I want to give us a reminder that we're still in our week at the moment is about Children in Need segment, and this month we're working on our education for our partnership with the LAUSD next month for our giveaway for 90 surfaces to the classrooms of needy schools in Los Angeles. Now, just for some of you, there's some facts here regarding why it's very important for us to have something technology minded, as well as some of the facts that are actually out there. There's 2/3 of students who can't read proficiently by the end of 4th grade will end up in jail or on welfare. So over 70% of American inmates cannot read above a 4th grade level. 1 in 4 children in America grow up without learning how to read. Now, can you imagine that? How it is to actually learn how to read when you can't? I mean, that, as we mentioned before, it goes through crosswalks, signs at schools, reading in classrooms. Nearly 85% of juveniles who face trial in the juvenile court system are functionally illiterate, proving that there is a close relationship between illiteracy and crime. More than 60% of inmates are functionally illiterate. So how do we stop that? Well, the Peace Fund wants to change that because we have a couple of different programs we're working on right now. And one of them is our Surface giveaway. And do I have John Beerley on the line? I don't know if John is there.
Yes. Good morning, Adrian.
How are you this morning, John?
I'm doing very well, Adrian. How you doing?
Oh, not bad. Ethan's lost in the quagmire of Los Angeles at the moment.
It's been known to happen.
We're going to have to give him a little bit of a what should I say? A little bit of a something saying late for your own show. I think he's mentioned that before.
He has called you on that one many times. I think it would be more than fair for you to return the favor.
I wonder how we could actually do it. It'd be very interesting how we could do that to him. It'd be very interesting. You know what I think? We were talking about the Surface giveaways that we're going to be doing later on in January, and we also have our questions from Cheo Carrillo that have spawned a bunch of answers on our Facebook and Twitter site.
Awesome.
But I want to actually, I'll get to that in a second. But reminder of the facts. Did you learn to read when you were in school, right?
I actually learned before. My mother sat with me for hours at a time and read to me. And once I could read anything, I wanted to read everything. So,
I think it's interesting because you've got, I mean, most of the time, we've highlighted this once before on the show, whereby communication, whether it's not reading, but communication comes from sounds, and children actually develop literary skills and awareness of language well before they're actually able to read. You know, I mean, that goes down to your kid, saying things to you that you didn't realize they could say, that you've said maybe 2 weeks before or a week before, right. And suddenly they start sprouting
all the time.
Yeah, and it's like, oh dear, I said that. What's my son's favorite word at the moment? What's the one he's...
Can we say it on air?
Yeah, no, absolutely, no, I wouldn't. It was, what's he say at the moment? He says, that's not brilliant. He says, that's awesome. Well, awesome's another one. He says, I'm like, where did you get that from? But they pick it up. So the idea is that language development is a fundamental to all learning. I mean, that's really it. You know, you can actually, these skills kind of develop early in life, and they help you set up this stage that you have when you're in school to actually have a success. So reading aloud to young kids is important for parents to know, to help them acquire the skills they'll need to be ready for school.
And I see that all the time with, my little nieces and nephews. They love to be read to. But I think something that they love just as much is to be able to sit with you and read you something. I mean, they just totally light up to know that, hey, I am reading you a story. And I think it's really good for kids to have that, just to be positive and encouraging to kids when they want to read. If you have a kid who wants to read to you from one of their stories, I don't care how busy you are, sit down and listen, because it will be so enriching for them and it'll be fun for you too.
There's a study that was done. It was an international study done based on the foundation of language awareness in early life. It basically, they did it from 15-year-olds. They did a study of 15-year-olds from 14 developed countries, and they realized that students whose parents read books with them regularly during the first year of primary school scored an average of 14 points higher on comprehensive reading assessment. Now, that's obviously when you're talking about primary school. I don't know. That's what I said something the other day to somebody. It was like, okay, now I'm getting what the grade levels are because my kids are in school, and now I know what grade 1 to grade 5 is, but before I had no idea. So do you know what primary school is, John?
Primary school, to me, is probably like elementary grades, correct?
Yeah, it's primary school. It's basically age 5 to 10, those types of ages. Comprehensive is in England. It was basically taken to be 11 and to 18 years old, or 11 to 16 years old.
Well, it's interesting, the statistic, because in a couple of weeks we're going to have one of our previous heroes of the week call in, Rachel Lay from Literacy for Little Ones, and she has this program where basically they supply bundles of books to every baby that's born in a hospital in the area that her organization services. Every parent gets basically a bundle of books to encourage them to start reading to their kids early, and therefore encouraging those kids to start reading themselves. So she'll be coming on in a couple weeks to tell us a little bit more about how she does that and what some of her success has been. But it's been a really positive program for her.
I mean, I think books are because we also have that program. We're going to be launching early in the new year as well, to be giving away and creating a School Makes a Difference program in interactive storytelling, where we will take some books to certain schools, and we will read the stories to them, but also give them away. So,
and that's exciting to me too, because I remember School Makes a Difference was one of the very first Peace Fund programs. So it's great to see that kind of come back around, and it'll help a lot of kids, I think.
I just want to highlight something else, because right now, I mean, obviously we're talking about our partnership with LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School District schools. And yesterday we had a shutdown of all the schools in the Los Angeles area. That's 900 schools. And it's the nation's second largest schooling system. It sent parents from San Pedro to Pacoima scrambling to get their kids to find daycare or some other way to look after their children as well while they go to work. I mean, and we found, or it's been sort of mentioned, that it was actually a hoax. They're talking about the 640,000 students that were actually affected were done by a crudely written email threat to a member of the Los Angeles Board of Education, which prompted them to close all the schools in the Los Angeles County, which puts us into a very strange place to be now.
It does. It does, because I mean, you can't not take it seriously. You have to take it seriously. But something like this, though, also opens the door for every kid who decides, I don't want to go to school today, I'll call in a threat or some type of hoax. It's scary.
Well, especially since you had the shooting just recently,
right in San Bernardino.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we've had school shootings before, and so it's not I hate to say this, not an uncommon thing that we're hearing in the news these days. So to have something like that, I mean, again, you keep taking kids out of schools, which I just think is really detrimental. I mean, the kids will go, yeah, we're out of school. I wonder how many of you out there were like, cool, got a day off. But,
Well, it's interesting, too. I mean, kids are so advanced in what they're able to do, because the email that was sent, the authorities said that it was routed through Germany, but that it originated locally.
How do you
So
route it through
whoever
Germany?
actually sent the email was smart enough to send it in a way that's making it very difficult
somebody to
track the origin, because they pinged it through Germany somehow or another.
Yeah, they reckon it's kind of somewhere closer. It's interesting. I mean, I'm sure they'll find out. I mean, with the technology that we have, you know, I think basically it should be able to. We should be able to find out who did this. Now, you know, I mean, there is another thing that happened here. Now, as I've said before, certain things cause different things to happen, and when the schools were shut down, one of the teens were crossing the street after the schools were shut, was killed by a hit-and-run driver by the looks of things. And so it actually, you know, has called, it's called something, it's something like this has now killed a 17-year-old student because he was supposed to be in school, but instead he was actually, you know, running across the street to possibly go home. I don't know where he was going. But so again, that domino effect has actually, somebody's email has now actually caused the death of a young man or 17-year-old student. It doesn't say a young man, which I think is tragic. So we have to be aware that when we do, our actions do cause reactions and other things in life. So I think it's very important to actually understand that, because, you know, I'd also thought about, you know, if somebody decided they wanted to do it, okay, let me just run a hoax and I'll send the letter in. It might be funny for you, but it's not funny for something else, because it could have dire consequences like it has had in this particular case. Let's just talk a little bit about reading. You know, a child needs to hear about 1,000 stories before they learn to read. That comes from a Mem Fox, an Australian children's author. They gain insight, you know, into printed text and also start to recognize words in their own time. And the more exposure we have to written words and reading stories, the easier it is for them to learn to read, which is basically I would imagine, but I don't think everybody gets it. And it may seem like a lot, but 1,000 stories is easily accomplishable if you read at least one story a day. It's not a target magic number, but it's a goal that, you know, once, no doubt, you start sharing a book, like then sharing this habit, it will continue to grow in different frames. Imagine that. You've got 356 days in a year. Let's do a little bit of calculation, quick calculation. Let's say you did...
I'm so bad at math, Adrian.
Oh, good. Let's get started. So, let's say we did 250 days of the year. How many? It would take you 4 years, just 4 years for you, and that's not reading every single day, but 4 years for you to actually have your children totally understanding printed text and being able to read in their own time and express more in their own words. That's you reading to them. You don't actually have to teach them and learn them or get them to learn the words. You just have to read to them. And it's amazing. Actually, I'm reading French to my kids at the moment because my daughter is learning French. My son wants to learn French. So I'm reading French books. Now, half the time they don't understand most of the stuff that's in there. But all of a sudden
they
pick one or two words up. You know, my son's now saying bonjour, merci. I'm like, and he says it to people. I'm like, au revoir. I'm like, oh, really? You got that, did you? That's kind of interesting. And, you know,
the thing about reinforcing it now is, you know, a new language can be very daunting at first, but there's a moment where it just clicks.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be a really exciting time for them, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
For you too.
Well, you know, the other thing is, I mean, I want to talk about the books to start with, but, you know, the other thing books contain, which is interesting, they contain words we don't normally use in a day-to-day situation. You know, I mean, we pick up words there, and that actually helps us with jobs later on and education later on. It basically, they reckon that books contain about 50% more rare words than primetime television does. So your kids watching TV doesn't exactly help their vocabulary, but reading a book does.
Right. It's
different. It's different. I mean, I know that in reading in speaking Italian. When I speak Italian or French, a lot of other things that a lot of native speakers speak an entirely different vocabulary. They don't speak the same vocabulary as I do because I didn't learn at that level to be able to read in French from a kid or read in Italian from a kid day to day, day in, day out. So a lot of words that I hear, I haven't heard those words before in French or Italian because they're spoken, they're not written out of books.
That's interesting, and it makes a lot of sense too. Because again, you know, you're watching television, you're watching actions, but you're not reading reading those actions. It makes a lot of sense. I never really thought of it that way, but
Well, I didn't either. I mean, and then you've got the next level up, which is the legalese. I mean, you go into legalese, then that's an entirely different, vocabulary. So
Exactly.
There are stages in vocabulary I think people have to actually really understand. Do you know, I've got another one here for you. Nursery rhymes. How many of you parents out there teach your kids nursery rhymes? Well, do you know how important that is? Because if you teach your kid by age 4 just 4 nursery rhymes, short ones, 4 nursery rhymes, they'll naturally be a better reader by the time they're 8 years old. Because what it does is it actually helps us to pattern sounds and learn how to blend and separate and kind of manipulate the sounds. And it's essential when we're learning to read because there are different sounds in the letter. I mean, I teach my kids the th and sh and those types of sounds, and nursery rhymes have those incorporated in them because they're musical. And we've talked about that before, that music initially was far a sooner communicative skill for us as humans, if you like, than words were spoken. Sounds, beats, and noises was something that were used much sooner. So we understood those. So sounds in reading nursery rhymes is extremely important. So, beat and rhyme integrated is an actually real easy way, or an easier way, to learn to read. There's another little bit of information for you out there. And we still do not have Ethan Dettenmaier in the studio. I think he might be lost somewhere in the ether. But this also takes me to, John, I mean, we should... do you want to talk to a little bit about our Hero of the Week? Because while we're getting there, because there's a lot of stuff we can talk about this morning about this.
I do, actually. Do you want me to see if we can go ahead and get him on the line?
No, let's talk about who they are, who he is first, and then let's see... I've got so much material here, and I've got a couple of other announcements as well to make. So, lots of stuff this morning.
It's really interesting because just kind of a little bit of background before we get to our hero, just to say how proud we are of our heroes of the week. The We Are Family Foundation this week announced its 3 Global Teen Leaders who will attend their Global Teen Leaders Summit in New York in the spring, and 3 of the nominees are Peace Fund Radio heroes. We have Daniela Cohen, who had called in on November 11th to talk to us about her GIVE project at giveproject.com. GIVE stands for Go, Innovate, Volunteer, Educate. And Daniela is also working on a new emotional health campaign as a youth advisory board member for Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation. So congratulations to Daniela. Also, Will Lorsey. He has an organization called Fort Worth Frogs. Frogs stands for Friends Reaching Our Goals, and they have completely turned around the way that food is distributed to the homeless community in his Texas town. And Will called us, and again, on our February 13th, 2013 show. He was 10 years old when he called in, and he totally just knocked us over with how eloquent and thoughtful he was about what he's doing. And our third hero who is on the list is today's Hero of the Week. His name is Christopher Cow. And I had talked about Christopher back on our November 4th show. He founded a 501c3 nonprofit called Reboot for Youth at rebootforyouth.org to increase educational opportunities for underprivileged youth through greater access to technology in the United States and beyond. So he'll be joining us by phone today to talk about what he does and how he does it. It's really incredible how they refurbish these computers, and basically it fits right along with our contest to give away some of these Microsoft Surface tablets to schools that are in need. Basically, Chris's whole thing is if we can get technology in the hands of students who can't afford it on their own, then we can kind of level the playing field and give them the opportunities and chances that other kids have. It's great.
Well, while you have a quick chat with him, I'm going to actually announce what we were talking about last week, which was with Cheo Carrillo, a young singer a Latino singer who came on to join us on air last week, who has, in 2006 he started he participated in a show called El Show de Don Cheto and won first place as a singer, and since then he's been really, making a move in the music scene. Unfortunately, he's not here this morning. He had to call in and not be able to make it. So what we want to do for you out there that have already entered in the competition, I want to give you the chance to actually talk to your friends as well, because next week we will be pulling the Surface competition, and I want you to actually listen to the actual questions once again that will be on our Facebook site. John, what's the Facebook address?
You can find us actually twice on Facebook. We have facebook.com/the Peace Fund, which is for General Peace Fund business. You can find all the information there. And also facebook.com/Peace Fund Radio for stuff that's a little bit more relevant to the show. So we're on there twice. We're also on Twitter under both of those accounts, and you can find all that information there.
Right. So the information on winning the Surfaces is on those pages. Now, the questions that Cheo asked us last week was, how would winning a Surface tablet advance your education? Now, you can tweet that to us, and you can do these two questions separately, but make sure you actually hold your you hashtag Cheo's name and hashtag the Peace Fund so that we can find you. The second question would be, how would winning this tablet enable you to help others in your life? Short answers. They don't have to be a lot. It could be, your grandmother might be able to need some help with the tablet. There were different ways. We want to find out how it would help you and how it would help somebody else, because I think that's very important to know. So again, we're going to extend it next week because we've had quite a few answers, but Cheo's not here this week, so hopefully we can actually get it next week. We'll definitely be pulling them next week. Now, I just want to announce something. We had a very interesting entrance into the studio just recently. And hold on a second. Is Ethan Dettenmaier with us this morning? Say something, Ethan.
He is.
He is, but unfortunately, I don't have his mics turned up.
Press it. Yeah, that's good. There you go. There you go.
See, now I'm on the board this morning. That's what happens. I can run this show without you.
Well, that's debatable, because if I was here, I would have been mic'd up immediately. But however,
hold on a second. You're giving me grief. Hold on, what time is this?
Wait a minute. Excuse me. Me having to nod and point to the mic button for him to turn me on. But I am, first of all, very apologetic. This is a crazy morning.
Oh, trust me, I know. Trust me, I do know.
There is some very off-kilter things happening in our city out there this morning that just made today very adventurous. So I'm sorry for being late, but it is good to see you handling the technical aspects of the show. I should shoot a photo for the Peace Fund audience. I think I will. In fact, I'm gonna, follow me along. I'll do this for the radio audience. Ethan is getting his camera ready. He is aiming it at Adrian Paul, who's behind not one but two.
Now you know the
consoles.
suffering I have to have by the time you actually get, me on the other side of it.
Yeah, but this is a nice view, man. Look, this is
different. It's a different.
People don't realize that your side of the desk is completely clean. It looks like it just came out of the Home Depot.
Look, just because you got a bunch of bells and whistles, like lots of lights on there, nothing that happens on this thing. I mean, it's just a couple of buttons.
Well,
you could have two buttons.
That is true that a lot of it's just for show. I have to admit, it's like R2-D2. It's just there to make it look like there's a gizmo. But yeah, but it is fascinating to see you operating, and it's actually good, and it's good to get some technical training. And I'm sorry I'm late. I'm prepared for any criticism. We love just deserved.
Well, actually, we were just saying at the top of the show, since I was always getting grief. Oh, look, Adrian Paul just turned up late for his own show, which I never did. I just happened to turn up, like a minute or 3 seconds late.
I have to go through the archives to confirm that. I don't want to take that step yet. But you know what? You're always here in presence.
Well, the good thing about it is that you'll be able to go through those and read, because we're talking about reading this morning.
Good.
And, several things. We're actually just about to have our Hero of the Week. I'm going to pull him into the conversation, and I'll add him to the group. Did you reach out to him, John? John, are you there? I think we lost John. John, are you there?
I am here. Sorry.
Okay.
My equipment came over on the Mayflower, so we're doing the best we can over here.
That's good. You're hand cranking it this morning, are you?
That's right. He will be calling us in just a moment to join in the conversation.
Well, I could actually reach out to him, but okay, if he's going to call us, that's absolutely fine, because we can actually go on with what we were talking about, which is we actually have the giveaway for the Surfaces, because we were talking about books, but it's also important for technology. We can't ignore technology, because it's actually in front of our faces, part of our daily lives now. It's become part of our lives so fast in in retrospect of everything that's gone past in the past 100 years, technology has only really taken over our lives in the past 20 years. And prior to that, it took us hundreds, if not thousands of years to beat drums out, the beats out on a drum and communicate, through sounds. But it's still very important to actually include technology today, because there are great apps out there that actually help you to read and allow you to join the 21st century in a positive way, rather than just using it for games or talking out on Facebook or Twitter or something of that nature. Ethan's actually on the on Twitter right now.
I'm posting your photo.
He's posting my photo. Did you know that? I mean, I've got to do everything here. I don't understand.
Would you like me to take over?
No, please. You're doing such a fine job.
I think we should go. I think this is like a kamikaze run. I think we should just go all the way to the bitter end and see what we crash into with you running it.
I think so. I've run it before.
You have. That's true.
You know,
I wasn't here to experience it, but
it was a definite beautiful show.
I'm sure it was.
Without any...
John, how do you spell rarity? Because that's how I'm starting this caption off.
Hold on a second. By the way, we're talking about...
R-A-R...
I think we have our caller calling in right now. So I'm gonna pick up the line for Chris. Let's just see if I can do this one. Hold on a second. Hello, you're on with Peace Farm Radio. Is this Chris?
Hi, yeah, this is Chris.
You see, technology does work, and I'm able to use it. Hello, Chris. Good morning. How are you? You're on with Ethan Dettenmaier and John Beerley and myself, Adrian Paul. I think John will be hearing us right now. John, are you there?
Yes, I am. I was on hold there for a second,
yes,
I think.
Just for a second. Chris, how are you doing this morning?
Hi, Adrian. I'm doing well. And hello to the rest of the Peace Fund team. Thank you so much for having me here and having me talk today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, and thank you, Christopher, because I know, believe me, this young man is very busy, which he'll be telling us about in just a minute. But Christopher, this is John. Welcome aboard.
So Christopher, hold on. How old are you?
I'm 16 years old.
Where are you?
Well, right now I'm actually at school at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology in Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, in Virginia. Okay, so you're not in Los Angeles, affected by the LAUSD shutdown yesterday.
Oh no, I'm not in Los Angeles right now.
Right. Okay. So let's just do something. Because we're talking about technology. We've talked about we're doing a Microsoft Surface giveaway to LAUSD schools, and you're dealing with technology. Why? What was the moment you decided you needed to do something for kids without access to technology?
Sure. So I'll just start off by saying that this came from a first-hand experience. One day I was tutoring a third grader at a free tutoring program targeted towards low-income students. And after a while of tutoring and just getting to know the student, that third grader actually opened up to me and told me about his family financial situation where they couldn't provide a computer for him at home. And as a result, as a third grader, he had to walk to the nearest library every day. And after a while, it became problems in his family, and I just found out that I could use some of my talents and some of my interest in computer hardware to benefit the world, and especially people in situations like that third grader.
So once you'd made that decision, how did you get it all started?
Sure. So it all started with Reboot for Youth, the nonprofit organization where we refurbish computers for underprivileged students worldwide. And I got started by recruiting some of my team members that go to my school currently, and I know that they were interested in the same topic with computer hardware and building computers, and I just thought that it'd be something cool that we could start up, maybe see where it goes, and hopefully impact students in the family. So we basically got together and we started meeting every week at my friend's house, and ever since it's grown into the global nonprofit that we now run. And hopefully we could benefit more lives around the world. So what's
your process for refurbishing these computers?
Sure. So I like to think of our refurbishment process as a three-step process. It's first accepting local donations of equipment and hardware from families around the area that may have a computer in their homes, or local businesses that are refurbishing the systems within their network. And once we receive those equipment and the hardware, we move on to step 2, which is diagnosing any problems with the computers, fixing any minor issues, and installing operating systems. And once that computer is finished with, we move on to step 3, which is the actual donating of computers to these low-income students.
Well, I know that, I've had this issue many times before where my computer doesn't run fast enough, the processor doesn't run fast enough for some of the applications that are out there today. Do you have to change the processing speed and that the core part of the computer, or can it not be done?
Yeah, a lot of the computers that we actually received are really run down and outdated. So what we do is we try to do a lot of fundraising for our nonprofit and use some of that monetary resources to purchase more parts to upgrade these computers a little bit and hopefully have a quicker response to the current day operating systems that we install.
Right. So once you've got them ready, what do you do with them? How do you distribute them?
Yeah, we typically find these students through contacting counselors in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools around the area. And these counselors have personal relationships with their students, and they have direct information on financial status of their parents and who would really need these computers. And that's how we get in touch with the families locally. But then just recently, we've actually initiated some global initiatives, and so far we've impacted a few countries worldwide.
So how do you deal with donating? How does it work globally for you? Because you said you've got distribution locally. So how does it work globally? Do you partner with an organization somewhere else?
Yeah, exactly. We actually partner with another organization called KeyPod, and what KeyPod does is they create a personalized USB device for every single student, so that once you plug in the USB to a computer, all your information is displayed, and once you're done with it, you just unplug it, and the next person could end up using that computer. So it really enhances the radius of students that could be impacted by one single computer instead of having one hard drive where everyone's information is on it. And that's just unsafe, and it's more of an inconvenience for the students. Which,
that hard drive must have quite a bit of terabytes on it, doesn't it? What's
yeah.
If it's just a plug-in, it's so all their information is on their own. They're just using the screen and the processor, pretty much, right?
Exactly, yeah. And all their personal information is on that USB device, so nothing is left on the host computer.
That's actually a pretty interesting thing. So how's it differ in different countries for you? I mean, the technology is obviously different. So what are the differences between different countries?
Yeah, so I think one of the main reasons why we started reaching out to other countries and third world countries around the world was that here in America, we're blessed with libraries and other public facilities where we could actually have access to computers. However, overseas, and especially in countries with a lot of poverty in the nation, they don't have that government funding that would provide, public facilities and public locations for computers and higher technology. So what we wanted to do with our talents and our motivation was to provide this higher technology in our increasingly connected world.
Interesting. It does change things, doesn't it? I mean, I found that cell phones, for instance, when you create the first, it's like you're talking about computers. You create the first computer, and then 10 years later down the line, 5 years later down the line, that computer is out of date, and the new ones are in date. And the countries, I remember in Europe with phone technology, the United States had internet first of all, but 20 years passed by, internet's obsolete. They've got 3G and 4G in Europe faster than the internet in the United States originally was because it's oldest cable systems. So it's interesting having to deal with that now because that's a whole new thing that we're now just experiencing with out-of-date products.
Yeah, exactly. And constantly renewing that technology that we just implemented a few years ago, just like you said.
So congratulations, by the way, on being named 3.Dash Global Teen Leader. When did you find out about that?
Yeah, I actually I got in touch with one of the 3.Dash executives about a month ago, and we had a call where they actually informed me that I was chosen as one of the global team leaders. So I was really honored to be recognized for my efforts in Reboot for Youth, and I hope to learn a lot at the summit in March.
So what that's in New York, I take it, isn't it?
Yes,
next year. So and you also were nominated by one of our previous heroes, Rashini Premaraten, if I say it correctly, of X Out Homelessness. Have you worked on any other projects with her at all?
Yeah, I've actually, I got to meet up with her over the summer when she was interning somewhere in D.C., and we met over lunch one day, and we we were discussing some future initiatives. So far we haven't worked on any projects collectively. However, we are planning to work together on a coding workshop, actually next month or in early February, where Exit Homelessness will provide a coding workshop for low-income students around the DC area. And with Reboot resources, we hope to provide computers for that workshop and really bring power to this initiative that they're starting.
Have you worked with any other groups? Because that's one of our things of actually being able to work together so that we can actually reach a lot more people.
Yeah, well, we have actually reached out to another coding nonprofit, and we have set up a coding workshop just similar to our program with X Out Homelessness. So we've really been able to use some of the resources for Reboot for Youth, not only just to bring computers into more homes, but also to enhance the knowledge of programming and, more coding experience with newer generations.
So if our listeners want to find out more about what you're doing online, where can they do that?
What I'm sorry. What I'm doing online?
If our listeners want to find you online and they want to help and they want to donate, where can they find you?
Sure. Users can find us at our website, www.rebootforyouth.org. And on there we have all our information from how to request a computer, where to donate a computer, as well as information about our Facebook page and other social media. And that's basically where we keep all our information updated about Reboot for Youth.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for joining us. I think you're doing a great job. And, obviously, we are technology-minded ourselves to a degree, and we are always learning new things. So we want to find out everything that everybody's doing, and you're doing a fantastic job with this this new phase now, which is phase 2, which is rebooting the old stuff, which I think is very important because a lot of people can't afford it. So thank you for joining us this week and being the Peace Fund Hero of the Week. And hopefully we'll be in touch with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Everybody from the Peace Fund team, I'm incredibly honored to be your Hero of the Week. And just thank you so much for having me on the air again.
Well, thank you. It's great to talk to you, Christopher.
Yeah, great to talk to you too.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Brilliant.
So, now I've got to figure out how to undo that.
Yeah. I'm watching this.
How do I do that? How do I do that, Jack? No, I know how to do it. I've learned Skype before. Have you learned Skype before?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Did you know?
I do quite a bit of Skype from that chair during the show. It's amazing how underappreciated I suddenly feel. I thought you knew the intricacies of my job over there. The title producer isn't one you just give yourself.
Well, no, I do, though. I like to give myself lots of titles. But I'm not going to mention what those are. But
that was a very interesting conversation. Bright kid.
It was really good. It is. And also, you can also find him on Facebook at facebook.com/reboot4youth. Good. And you can watch lots of video clips that they have. They've actually gotten some local news coverage in the Washington, D.C. area for the work that they're doing, which is great to further what they're doing. And also just to say again what Christopher said on his call, if you go to reboot4youth.org, if your family needs a computer, if your kids need a computer, he'll tell you what to do. If you have a computer that you would like to donate, if you're an individual or a company who would like to donate computers to be refurbished and given away to someone who needs it, he'll tell you what to do. All that information is there. It's a really great website.
So I want to actually go back to what we were talking about as well before, because I think computers, reading, books are all very integrated and necessary. Mm-hmm. For those of you out there, how do you motivate your child to read? I want you to share tips with us at Peace Fund Radio. Give us a tip of how you actually help us to or help your kids to read, because there are a lot of different ways people have, and sometimes kids don't want to read. So what do you do to your child if they do not want to read? Because in reality, a child needs to hear a word 250 times before they actually remember it. That's actually coming from a NHS speech pathologist. Repetition. And it sounds like a lot, but when you talk about what we were talking earlier about reading those books over this period of time, a child will remember that sound. So repetition is important, and to sound the words out, for them and let them understand it. Don't gloss over new words. You've got to sort of explain them to children. I tend to do that sometimes because I want to get end of the book and it's the end of the night, been a long day, and you want to get, the kids to bed. But in reality, an extra few minutes doesn't hurt, and it actually will give great benefits to your kids later on in life. Did you ever? I mean, did you read to your kids?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Did you ever?
My kid reads to me now.
I know, that's the thing. Is it's all changed now.
Yeah. She reads her own stories to me when she comes up with one.
So she creates her own stories now,
Yeah,
right?
she's a big writer, artist, so she'll read me stories of interesting adventures.
Isn't it amazing when you see your child grasp that creative side of things? You've started the ball rolling by teaching them all the written, and then suddenly they take it somewhere that you didn't even think it was going to go.
Well, what's scary is how good they are, actually, because I don't ever remember being that creative and that effective. So she tells me these stories, and I'm like, they're actually very riveting. She tells fantastic stories about steampunk revolutions and how superheroes develop their qualities, and how the villagers, she did an inverted Frankenstein story where the villagers were actually the villains and Frankenstein was the hero. Really interesting stuff. So it is creative, and books are of course a key part of that.
Well, I think it's that imagination kids have. I mean,
true.
That
what happens to us.
Well, exactly what happened to us as we went along. But that great thing that you have. That's why I think our interactive storytelling is a great tool that we're going to be using, is because the kids will act out these stories, and so it's their imagination. You can read a book 50 to 50 different students, and each one will have a slightly different version of what that book says, because the imagination took hold.
Right.
How many times have we gone before and we go, I didn't like the film, I love the book. Well, why is that?
I was just thinking of that very thing, actually, because the way your imagination captures the word versus somebody putting the visuals in front of you are two different perceptions.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, even when you have horror, like a book can be chilling to you, but it's your own mind that's created it, nobody else.
Yeah, that's why books are so awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're very important.
More books.
Well, what we do? How did that? Did you have those books picked up yet?
I'm going to get them picked up. He's based in San Diego, so it's been challenging logistically this week. I'm actually at social services again today.
Are you?
I'm running around, but we will get them picked up. It's a very nice donation, and we're going to get those to the people who need it. We're going to actually thinking about maybe starting a few lending libraries at a couple of different service organizations with those books. So the process continues.
Well, it's I think what happens is, and this is where we also are beneficial in certain things, is that we're given something, but the way to actually make it work better is to see how you can incorporate a lot of people in using it. And that's why the surface giveaway is important, because we want to affect as many people with what we're giving away as possible.
Right.
And how do you do that? Instead of just going, oh, great, we'll give these 90 away and be done. No, we want to make sure that we're actually affecting, and we're going to be actually, I'm not just giving it away to 90 people. Now we're going to be affecting hundreds, if not thousands, of school children by giving these away. And I think that's what you have to also look at when you have donations. You want to make sure that you're not just giving something away, unless it's an organization that's actually going to be creating a program on it. That as an organization yourself, you don't just take a donation, give it to somebody. And that's one of the things we actually got back from LAUSD when we were talking to them about it. They said, it's great that you're doing follow-ups and technical support and stuff like that, because a lot of the time we get donations and people give it to us and it's done, and it's a corporate donation. Thank you very much. And, I mean, we had to run by a lot of different things as to whether we were a legitimate organization, whether we were politically minded, et cetera, et cetera. So there are certain rules you've got to follow during this process.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the things that are admirable about the Peace Fund here is the due diligence to make sure that all the partners involved are legitimate and that the most of the resources, if not all of them, can go directly to the cause.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I was thinking the other day is there are so many people now involved in the Peace Fund, and we have people coming to us all the time. The great thing about it is that we could not do this without other people. You can't, that's why I think partnering with other people and doing things that you both share we started it really way back when we started our School Makes a Difference program, where we actually were in partnership with, different schools that wanted to come in. They supplied some of the stuff. We had different organizations come in and bring the supplies, the kids' supplies, the books, the pencils, the stuff. And we would have other celebrities coming in, giving their time. So as a collective, it's so important to be able to share things around. And as a group, you can accomplish so much more.
Right, I agree.
Now, again, we're running out of time, even though we've had a smaller show, I would say, this morning than normal. Because
smaller, perhaps, but not insignificant in caliber.
You were not here for it. We needed your dulcet tones, but instead they had mine instead.
I think everyone is quite content, my friend.
I have to say the quality of the banter increased dramatically when Ethan
dramatically.
Usually it's quite entertaining when Adrian banters with himself because we all think he's crazy in the other room. But it is nice to have a counterpart to banter with.
Did you see what he just said? In the other room, it's as if I'm like locked in a little closet.
Well, the studio here is like a fish tank. There's a window, and if you look in here, and you can see Adrian talking to himself and bantering back and forth. It's pretty entertaining. Very cuckoo's nest relative.
Now you can tell how Ethan produces the show. He looks at me through a screen in another room and watches me mouth the words like.
And I just shake my head and press buttons.
That's see, now we know the level of what you're actually able to accomplish here, Ethan. I'm very impressed.
We did actually get a really nice response to Adrian's question on Twitter. How do you motivate your child to read? Ivana from Argentina, hello Ivana, says that I've seen that children love to hear the characters' voices and that the story is told enthusiastically. And I think that's a big thing too. If you really get into the storytelling and you do, voices for different characters, that really gets kids excited and involved. So that is a great tip, Ivana, and thank you for it.
I think what we'll do, send in your quotes because we'll read them on air next week, and we'll actually make that part of the process next week. Tips to motivate your child to read from the I hate reading. You ever heard that? From an impassionate declaration from one of your children? Well, we'll discuss that next week as part of our ongoing discussion on education and reading. We will also be bringing you the people who have won the Surface giveaways.
Brilliant.
A couple of individuals that we will be giving this Surface to. Please, again, as we mentioned, John, can you again tell us the Peace Fund pages to
yes.
find the questions on and the rules of the competition?
Yes, you can find them on facebook.com/the Peace Fund, also at facebook.com/Peace Fund Radio.
And also, the other thing, if you get onto the Peace Fund, like us, because we do Peace Fund Radio or Peace Fund. We would like to see, if you want to hear more about what we're doing. We will be having our own site next year on the launch of the new Peace Fund site. There are going to be, our Celebs for Kids site will be growing next year, back on air again, which was a fantastic site that we had, whereby you can find pictures of your favorite celebrities doing a peace sign, a unique photo that you won't find anywhere else, and it'll be yours just for a small donation to the fund. That you'll find that out, as well as a Peace Fund Radio site where you will actually see all the archives will be linked from there. The questions, there'll be a couple of interesting things on there. We'll have backgrounds on some of our heroes of the week. We'll have backgrounds on our guests who have been there, so you can scour the site to see which guests you might want to listen to, and then go and link onto the archive and find that show. So that's going to be happening next year as well. So there's a lot of things that we're about to launch. Again, this is a new year for us, Ethan. This is year 4, believe it or not. I can't believe it's year 4.
Has it been 4 years?
Well, it's been 3 years. We've had 3 years of airs, and this is the beginning of our 4th year.
Very impressive.
which is fun. Nice to know that all of you are actually out there listening, and we can continue to do this. Right. So I just want to give a quick shout out as well to a couple of organizations that are going to make a difference in reading. Actually, one would be RIF.org, Reading is Fundamental, started in 1966. On November 3rd, actually, McNamara and a group of local teachers and volunteers in Washington, D.C. launched a full-fledged book distribution program designed to motivate and empower young readers. They called it Reading is Fundamental. RIF now stands as the nation's largest literacy non-profit organization. To date, they've given away more than 412 million new free books to kids in need across the country.
Awesome.
That's a lot of books. That's a lot of books. And it's especially important today where we're actually losing some of our programs in schools and the funding for schools to actually have those books there. So it's very important to have, and we'll bring you more information on that next week. Ethan, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you.
You know,
It's been a privilege.
John, do you have any other updates for us quickly?
I do quickly. Everybody check out booksandablanket.com. The two young ladies who run that, Harper and Maggie, ages 11 and 9, will be our heroes of the week who are going to be calling into our show next week. They are super excited to be on the show, and we are very excited to have them as well.
Okay, so in closing this week, I want to thank again all the Peace Fund volunteers, everybody that's involved in the Peace Fund. I will have another chat with you next week. During the week, we'll be bringing you the Surface giveaways next week and more information on the LAUSD competition that we'll be running. But in closing, our quote is from Emilio Buchwald. Children are made readers on the laps of their parents. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier and John Beerley. We'll talk to you soon.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.